Hi, everybody. I finally heard the entire album by the Rolling Stones, their new one, Foreign Tongues, and I've heard it all the way through. I've played it 3 times. And I did a video earlier that I know a lot of you have seen. And that video earlier was not a review. What it was me just listening to the first 4 tracks or so, 4 or 5 tracks, and judging what I felt like when I first heard it. Now, when I first heard it, don't ask me how I felt this way looking back on it now, but I wasn't getting anything out of it, if you can believe it. And I was thinking, there's nothing really here that's really grabbing me on first listen, and it made me not want to really check out the rest of the album. I don't know what kind of mood I was in. I don't know what the deal was. All I know is I'm glad I went back to it, and I listened to the entire album a few times. I now think this is a good Rolling Stones album and a good follow-up to 2023's Hackney Diamonds. Hackney Diamonds, I still prefer. It's one of my all-time favorite Stones albums, and I don't think this is better. But I've heard things on this now that I didn't really recognize the first time. First of all, originally I was saying that the new album, Foreign Tongues, doesn't really have anything strong on it, and I wasn't hearing any real hooks or choruses. Now, in all fairness, I only listened to 4 songs, and there are 14 tracks on this record. So you can't go by 4 songs, obviously. I didn't hear the rest. But even as I later went back and played the rest of the songs, I'm like, uh-oh. I think I was pretty premature with that Rolling Stones uh, first impressions video. I'd like to disown that video, the first one I made, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to erase it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm actually going to keep it, and I'm going to even link it at the end. If you watch the end here, there'll be a little bit of a card here where you could click on if you're interested in seeing it. And I'm going to leave it as a lesson to myself and to all of you out there. It is true. You can't always tell first impressions how you really feel of a song when you listen to it for the first time. You have to listen to a song a lot of times, especially if it doesn't do much for you the first time. If you like it right out of the gate, fantastic. I loved Hackney Diamonds right out of the gate. I loved practically every song on that album immediately. It spoke to me immediately. I didn't even need 2 or 3 listens to Hackney Diamonds to appreciate it, because it had more of a polished sound, more of a commercial sound. I liked Andrew Watt as the producer on that album. Andrew Watt returns for Foreign Tongues, and it's what I'm feeling is I could feel Andrew Watt obviously throughout the album. It is more slick and modern sounding, but there's still a lot of vintage Rolling Stones in here, and a lot of people who prefer this album were telling me that this is really more of the real Rolling Stones, whereas Hackney Diamonds was kind of not. It was more like I don't know, embellished or modernized Rolling Stones. Well, take it for what you will. I know I've spent 3 minutes, over 3 minutes, talking about this before I talk about the songs, but I wanted to be clear. I like this album now. I like just about almost every song on the album, too, after playing it 3 times. And Andrew Watt features on the album, not just producing, but playing on the album as well. Let me start by saying that the instrumentation is fantastic. All the musicians, the guitar playing, the drumming, everything is top notch on here. Mick Jagger's voice, you would think in some tracks that Mick Jagger is in his 20s or 30s. You wouldn't think that he was in his early 80s. And I said the same thing for Hackney Diamonds. Now, how much of that has to do with AI, pitch correction, all kinds of auto-tune gimmicks? I don't know. Don't care. The bottom line is the fact that this sounds really good to my ears. Now, first track, rough and twisted blues style. He started out with a blues style, but it also has the modern touch. So it's blues, the Stones' like origin, their trademark really, in the early days especially. However, it has a more today sound. So you put the two together and it's really, really a good song. I think it's a great way, if unconventional, to open up an album like this. And I think that the harmonica is really, really tasteful on here. I like the track. Second track, In the Stars, it's a catchy track. It's a good single. I didn't really like it the first time I heard it. I couldn't believe it, you know. The second time, it spoke to me right away, you know. It's a good choice for a single. I love the oohs that are in it, and that really makes it. Now, the third song, Jealous Lover, well, I don't know. I didn't love it the first time. This time I like it. At first, I didn't like Mick's falsetto, which he's used before. I always said, I like that kind of high falsetto voice that Mick used in the song Emotional Rescue, you know, in 1980. But for some reason, at the first time I heard it, Jealous Lover, I didn't like it here. It reminded me a little of A Fool to Cry, in a way, the sound. Nice guitar in here. It reminds me of the 1970s Stones all around, but I got used to the falsetto of Mick, and I enjoy the track, Jealous Lover. It's a standout. Next track, Mr. Charm. I don't know why the first time that didn't speak to me, but the chorus of Call Me Mr. Charm, and all that, I can't deny it. It's very addictive. It's an up-tempo song, and it's a lot of fun. The song Divine Intervention is next. Blues rock, up-tempo again. It has a Some Girls period vibe, and it's an enjoyable track. Next track, Ringing Hollow. That one might take some time for me. It's a country tune again, you know, when they try country. I remember Faraway Eyes of Some Girls, kind of reminds me of that feel. It's okay, but it's not one of my favorite tracks. The next track number 7, is, without a doubt, my favorite song on this entire CD. That is a track called Never Wanna Lose You. Now, does it surprise anybody that I love it? Why it's my favorite track? It's a wonderful combination of disco, pop, rock, great catchy chorus. The main line, I never want to lose you, I never want to see you run away. It is really, really in my veins. I love this song, adore it. With that first video that I made, you know, had I waited to get past track 4 and gone on to tracks 5, 6, 7, 8, and beyond, I never would have made the first video. Hey, you know, chalk it up to learning a lesson. That's about it. But back to Never Wanna Lose You. To me, it's comparable to the band Kiss in the sense that I love the song I Was Made for Loving You, and a lot of Kiss diehards don't like that song because they're selling out, and it's kind of too like commercial disco-y. I love Never Wanna Lose You. I could see that song succeeding in the 70s. Just like I Was Made for Loving You was so cool for Kiss, I think Never Wanna Lose You is so damn wonderful for the Stones. Favorite track. And I know some people out there don't like the track Never Wanna Lose You. Just goes to show you where my taste is. That's followed by a complete, you know, contrast. We get Hit Me in the Head, which is very punkish, very upbeat. I guess it's kind of like the closest thing to the last album's Bite My Head Off, in a way. Hard driving, it's amazing. And Jagger, again, is incredible in that. Next song is You Know I'm No Good, that has harmonica in it in a Miss You style. You Know I'm No Good is an Amy Winehouse cover. I'm not very familiar with Amy Winehouse. I know a little bit of her songs. I think she was pretty good, actually. That's all I could say about it. You know, it's not one of my favorite tracks here, but I do like the Miss You style of it. Next track took me by surprise, number 10. It's Some of Us, and it's a Keith Richards vocal. And you have Mick and Keith together at the end of it. And this is supposedly an older song from the 80s, from the Dirty Work era, that was reworked. Keith surprised me here, much like he surprised me on Hackney Diamonds, the track, which I can't remember now, that he sang on. So I liked it. The next song, Covered in You, is the track that Paul McCartney guests on. Paul McCartney plays bass on it. First of all, the bass he plays it's good, but it's not a standout. I mean, I don't think there's anything about it that stands out where you'd say, wow, that's some incredible bass there. You know, it's who played that? Who was that? Paul McCartney? Fantastic. No. I think Paul McCartney was much more impressive on the track Bite My Head Off from Hackney Diamonds, where he participated on a fuzz kind of bass sound. But anyway, I didn't like the song Covered in You much at first. The chorus is good. It's growing on me more. I like it now. But at first it didn't do much for me. Next track, Side Effects, I need more time on. Side Effects, I think, is a favorite track for a lot of fans, quite possibly. But it didn't do much for me. It's one of my least favorite tracks on the album. Mick singing Side Effects, Side Effects, Side Effects over and over kind of bored me. The next song, Back in Your Life, is a long ballad. Well, it's long. It's only like, I think, 7 minutes or 6 or 7 minutes, something like that. Problem is I can't make out the words that Mick's singing, and that's for a lot of the album. Let me take a moment to say, I like it when you can hear Mick's voice more up front, and in the lead, and you can really kind of make out his words. I couldn't make out a lot of the words. I could always check lyrics, a lyric sheet somewhere, and get them. But I think it's a very nice ballad. Later on near the end of the song, he says, "Come on, Ronnie," and he coaxes Ronnie Wood into doing a fantastic guitar solo. That's a highlight of the track. So it's a good track. The final song, number 14, "Beautiful Delilah." Probably, if I was going to pick one that's my least favorite, it would be this. "Beautiful Delilah" is a cover of the 1958 Chuck Berry track. I think the Stones are putting it on there at the end, just tacking it on, because it feels like the album kind of stops after Back in Your Life. Then there's like a little bit of a pause before we get to the Beautiful Delilah, which is just like tacked on there as an afterthought almost. Stripped down acoustic version of the Chuck Berry song. I know that it's like paying tribute to an inspiration of theirs. That's, I think, the idea of it. But I could have done without it. I could have done with the album ending with Back in Your Life. So let me tell you something. This is a very good Stones album. I like Hackney Diamonds better so far. That may change over the years. But you see, the whole thing with me, as I've said, is I agree that you have to listen to an album more than once. That is, unless the album sings to you immediately. I don't want to go over familiar territory. Hackney Diamonds, but I will anyway. Hackney Diamonds, I loved immediately. I didn't have to play it 2 or 3, 4 times. This one I did. For me, the whole thing with albums and repeated listenings is, I wonder how interested I am in the artist or the album in particular to give it that time. It's true that albums can grow on you if you don't like it much the first time. If you listen to it 2, 3 times, 4 times. But how much time are you going to give an album that didn't really do much for you the first time? That's the question. There are even Paul McCartney albums out there that I now love and adore that took me a lot of listens, even the greatest ones. When I first heard them, didn't leap out at me immediately. But the question is, are the Rolling Stones important enough to me to give that album 3 listens instead of just 1 and just listen to 4 tracks and say, "Nah, I'm done"? Yes, the Rolling Stones are worth it for me. I like them. They're probably my second favorite band after the Beatles. Second favorite British band at any rate. So I felt that I kind of owed it to myself and owed it to them to give it more listens. But that doesn't necessarily apply to every artist that I hear. I will also say this formerly abysmal, disgusting cover is now becoming something that's appealing to me. So there you have it. Those are my official thoughts on the new album, Foreign Tongues.